Hey, what's going on YouTube? So today I want to do my college football playoff predictions heading into week 12 of the 2015 season. So last week I had Baylor, Clemson, Ohio State, and Alabama. So this week, go ahead and start with my four outside. So I have Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Iowa, and Florida. So I still think Baylor is one of the top 8 teams in the country, but I think that loss last week firmly eliminated them from playoff contention. I mean, I guess they have a small hope, but they'd really have to just absolutely derail Oklahoma State and TCU the last 2 weeks, and then beat Texas by a lot as well. And then a lot of other stuff would have to happen also. I'd say Florida would have to win the SEC, and then even so, I think Florida would get in ahead of Baylor. So like I said, a lot of things would have to shift. All the other 4 outside teams, though, I think have at least a reasonable shot of making the playoff. So OU probably has the least likely shot of making it. So a lot of people have them in their college football playoff this week, just because they're kind of present to the moment with thinking for the rankings. But OU does still have a loss to Texas, and while they are playing like one of the best teams in the country right now, I don't know if that can be overlooked. And they do still have 2 tough games left, TCU and then Oklahoma State. So move on to Iowa, and Iowa, it's pretty simple. You win out, you're in. You lose one game, you're out. And then Florida, like I said, you win out, win the SEC, you're in. I'm not 100% sure on that, but their only loss it's not terrible, it's not great though, and it is LSU. But yeah, if they do win the SEC, especially against Bama, and they're able to beat Florida State, then they do have that's 2 real quality wins in a span of like 2 or 3 weeks. So I think that'd be enough to push them into the playoff. I think any win over Bama would be enough for any team to be able to push into the playoff, though, especially where Florida's ranked right now. All right, so lastly, Oklahoma State, again, simple, a lot like Iowa. You win out, you're in. You don't. I don't think there's a chance. So move into my college football playoff predictions, and at 4 I've got Notre Dame. At 3, I've got Alabama, 2 Ohio State, and then 1 Clemson. So I'm not saying these are going to be what the college football committee or college football playoff committee rankings are going to be, but these are mine. So Notre Dame, I don't even know if Notre Dame would beat all 4 teams on the 4 outside. So it's hard to get a gauge on them. They played pretty well this year. They have beaten some pretty quality teams. I mean, they've beaten Pitt, Navy, USC. Can't put my finger on it anymore. Temple. So I mean, Temple was top 25 at the time. So was Pitt. Actually, I don't know if Pitt was or not. I don't think they were. They just got beat by North Carolina. So still decent teams, and their only loss is to the number 1 team in the country right now. So I still think they're in. A lot of this, for me putting it in, is just being realistic about the brand name. The College Football Playoff Committee is big on that. Obviously, they want good ratings for the College Football Playoff, so they're going to vote in a team like Notre Dame over a team like Iowa or Oklahoma State. So move on to my number 3 seed, which is Alabama. And obviously, if they were undefeated, they'd probably be the 1 seed. But for the time being, they are behind Ohio State and Clemson. I get it. Ohio State hasn't played a tough schedule this year, but I do think once they get through the Michigan State and Michigan games, and then if they do win both of them, then they are able to beat Iowa. Then that's 3 real quality wins right there. So move on to my number 1 seed, which is Clemson, and they kind of walked through the game last week, but they are still as far as I'm concerned, they're the far and away number 1 team in the country right now. There are teams that could overtake that spot. Like I said, if Ohio State just absolutely dominates Michigan State this weekend, then I think it's hard to not put them back at the number 1 or back in the number 1 spot, at least in the playoff rankings. I don't know about the AP poll, but in Alabama, like I said, if they were undefeated, then maybe, but they're not. So it's not too far-fetched, though, seeing the way the playoff rankings were last week and the week before that Alabama could be the number 1 team in the playoff rankings. So, yeah, that is my college football playoff predictions heading into Week 12. Should be an interesting weekend. Got a couple of big games on top. If Oklahoma State can take care of Baylor, Ohio State can take care of Michigan State, then things will stay pretty consistent. And if OU takes care of Oklahoma. But if any of those don't go that way, which, it's college football this year, so some probably won't, then, it'll be another big shakeup. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. So, yeah.